Welcome to the Authentic Man podcast. I am your host, David Chambers. This is a podcast for men who want more and less from life. More deep connection, more emotional intelligence, more self-awareness, and more great sex. And less heartache, less conflict, less overthinking, and less stress. Creating dating lives, sex lives, and relationships that are incredible and authentic. My deepest goal is that you, the listener, can take away what you hear in this podcast and apply it to your life so that you can experience greater happiness, transformational growth, deeper relationships, and profound sexual intimacy. I believe that as men, we are capable of so much more depth than we are shown or led to believe. So join me as we get deep into this. Hello, and welcome to the Authentic Man podcast. I'm your host, David Chambers. This is a podcast for men who really just want to take their lives to the next level when it comes to dating, sex, relationships, and intimacy. And I have another special episode for you. I'm going to be getting into that in a little bit. But first of all, I just want to let you know that, from listening to this episode, you have the opportunity to win a free place at a workshop that I'm running called Being Authentically Attractive. It's an exclusive workshop. I'm going to be running it on the 4th of July. Very special day for Americans. It's for men and women. And the only people that will be able to come to the workshop are people that have entered the competition and get a free space. And to do that, all you need to do is follow me, the Authentic Man _ on Instagram, and post about this episode and tag me in the post. And that's it. That's all you need to do. Perfect, to get that out of the way. So today's episode, I'm going to be joined by Phillips. She's a wonderful woman who I've spoken to a few times on Instagram. We've had some wonderful conversations about, how people can get fully ready for a relationship, how we can manifest the relationship we want, how we can kind of heal from our past dysfunctional behaviors. And the reason why I've had so many great conversations is because we've been through this. We've been through this process of my dysfunctional behavior was around emotions and not expressing them. And I've had to kind of overcome that to be in a really beautiful relationship now. And also to get over things around, sex, intimacy, and trust and commitment. And I've moved past those things using everything that you're going to hear in this episode. So from this episode, you're going to really know exactly what you need to do to heal from your past issues, heal from your past kind of relationship problems, and be completely ready to manifest and create the relationship you really want, and to have that relationship be a success, which is really what you want, right? And Phillips is an author and female empowerment coach. She founded the School of Self-Love, for women to really help them learn how to be more authentic, aligned, and empowered, in their way of living, which is really deeply aligned with what I'm doing with men. So, it's going to be a great episode, right? And we really talk about our personal healing journeys, like I said before. And hers is really amazing because she's, she went through many years of being a single parent, and also, coming with a checklist and the implications of that. A lot of men and women, we have our checklist of what the person needs to be. And she tells a really great story about the checklist and how useful it was and how not useful it was for her. So in those terms, it's really a valuable episode for you. And, we touch on some really interesting things, like I said, about healing, signs that you have wounding that you need to get past. We talk about soulmates and if that's a real thing. Really interesting discussion actually about soulmates, because, it can be quite heated for people. What else do we talk about? How to invite in our ideal woman or man into our lives. There's a really important thing, because I saw how, there's a mental process we must go through, and there's a physical process of actually doing the looking, taking the action, but there's a lot of mental process, right, to do that. And then we get into some stuff about inner child healing and how to reparent yourself. That little critical inner voice that you have that's telling you whether you're good or bad or what you can and can't do. We talk about how we can start to deal with that better and use that kind of in our advantage instead of it beating us up all the time. And obviously we talk about vulnerability because, I'm always talking about vulnerability and the power of that. as well as we talk about the dance of masculine and feminine within us and within our relationships. And we kind of round off by talking a little about feminism and talking a little about what feminism doesn't tell us, and what it leaves out, or what it doesn't know, and some of the the downsides of that for both women and men. And it's not a bitter kind of men versus women conversation, because you've got two very aware human beings talking about it. It's just a case of looking at it for how it is and how it's affected people. So yeah, so that's what's going to be in the episode. And as always, I like to tell you what workshops I've got coming up. I've got a tantric massage workshop coming up, and I'm running with my partner Orsa. That's on the 9th of June. There'll be links to that in the show notes, or you can find it on Eventbrite, as well as an in-person speed dating event called Deeper Dating. That's on the 30th of June. It's going to be amazing. And Katie has a free 5-day challenge. Sorry, guys, this is only for the ladies listening. It's a 5-day challenge about how to really, bring in your soulmate, basically, is how you can attract your soulmate, how you can be the high-achieving single woman that can boost your confidence and and your self-worth, so you attract your soulmate into your life. And I know some women have been on the challenge, and it's incredible. And I know some of the work she does, because we've talked at length. So ladies, it's free. It's 5 days of spending some time with her. I think it's probably in the evenings, like an hour or two. So I highly recommend her work. And again, I'll put the link to that in the show notes at the bottom. So I think that's all the housekeeping bits and pieces over and done with. So without further ado, let's get into this episode of the Authentic Man podcast. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the podcast. I have another wonderful guest. I just feel like I'm very blessed to have so many amazing people I've met, especially in the last 6 months. And today I introduce a wonderful woman who I came across a recommendation from a friend. And we just had so many beautiful conversations. We just, swapped some voice messages, had a beautiful Instagram live, and really got into the nitty gritty of what gets in the way of our dating lives, what gets in the way of our creating the relationship we deeply want. Not this, oh, I don't know what to say when I meet someone, or, oh, how do I, get him to commit or anything like this. But there's the sort of depth is what am I really afraid of? What's really getting in the way? What sort of history and stories am I replaying? And this incredible woman is Katie Phillips. Hello, Katie.
Hey, David. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm really happy to have you here, because I love talking to Katie. We always have such wonderfully flowing conversations, and we just so many aha moments. Even for me, I remember when we did an Instagram live, I was having to write notes to save for later to add to content. It was really amazing.
I know. We could talk for hours. How long have we got today?
We have a good hour or so. We can talk for hours very easily. So first of all, it'd be good if you introduce yourself and, maybe talk about the work you do, and how you came to do that work.
Goodness me. I could approach that answer from so many different angles. Well, first of all, I'm a women's empowerment coach. I founded the School of Self-Love. I wrote a book called The Self-Love Affair, A Woman's Guide to a Daring and Mighty Life. And I love nothing more than helping a woman be who she came here to be. I love nothing more than helping her to really identify the mental and emotional, sometimes physical blocks that are standing in her way energetically from having and experiencing what she really desires. And one of my particular passions is helping a woman call in her soulmate. So I work with women for lots of different reasons. I also work with guys, predominantly women. Calling in their soulmate is a deep passion of mine, because that's been such a journey. I was a single parent for 8 years before meeting my now husband. So that in itself was, I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. But how did I come to do what I do now? Well, I was called to write a book around self-love and to create a school around self-love, because I had to learn to love myself. I still think it's hilarious, actually, that I do what I do now, because I was, corporate girl. I would have thought someone that taught what I teach and coached what I coach was, I'd have been hugely cynical once upon a time. So I do think it's kind of funny that I do what I do now, and it's such a calling. It was not a choice. it was a calling, because when I realized how I was showing up in the world super unconsciously as a victim, and why I was having the drama in my personal relationships that I was experiencing, and why I was experiencing the anxiety and depression I was. And I thought that that just was my lot in life. And I genuinely thought I was just unlucky in life. And some people were lucky and others weren't. And even with the anxiety I experienced, I couldn't even separate that out as something that I was experiencing that could actually be healed. It was just who I was. It was so fundamentally who I was. I was an anxious person. I was worried. I knew how to worry since I was a very small girl, and I had some good reason to. The idea of loving yourself, I mean, I don't know if you can hear it in my accent anymore, but I am Australian. I've lived in the UK for 20 years now. But growing up in the school ground in Australia, it was like, to love yourself was thrown at you as an insult. You don't, oh my God, you so love yourself. That was an insult. So, but I found myself, I had this amazing corporate career, and I was earning decent money, and I was traveling the world, and I had boyfriends, albeit with a lot of drama on the side, and outwardly appeared like I kind of had it all. But inwardly, I was, I was really struggling, but I didn't know there could be another way. And when I discovered the other way, I became incredibly evangelical about it, because to me, it was like this holy grail I discovered. And I couldn't believe that everybody didn't know that you got to have a choice over what you thought, how you felt, what you were attracting into your life. I mean, I just didn't know I got a say in that I got to kind of, co-create with the universe. And really, it was all kind of sparked to life, I suppose. When I was 22, my mum took her own life. And I lived in victim to that for a solid decade before I started to come out the other side and realize, life could be different. But, her death really was a communication to me that, Katie, this is as good as it gets for you. So kind of suck it up and pretend, put on a smiley face, be the good girl. But don't ever expect to feel particularly great, and don't expect to have the kind of relationship you want to have. It's going to be hard for you privately behind the scenes. When I realized I could change my experience of life, I started sharing it. And suddenly I became a coach, and suddenly I'd written a book, and here we are all these years later.
Wow. It's it's interesting, because the story you tell about yourself is very similar to the story my partner also, when she tells, is this idea that, outwardly everything looks fine. Everyone looks at us and go, what a great life you have. Oh, I wish I had your life. And you hear those words and you smile and you nod and you're like, yeah, everything's really good. But there's a piece of you that's sitting there going, oh, if only you really knew what was really happening, how I was really feeling inside.
But you know what? What's really interesting is I can see that playing out now in retrospect and with the perspective I have now. But when I was in it, I didn't even know to say, oh, but you're just seeing one version of me. This is really going on behind the scenes, because the two versions of me felt so normal that I hadn't even identified that they existed. It's quite hard to really explain. It's my anxiety, which became a depression, the drama that I felt all the time, the fear in relationship that I wasn't good enough, I needed to try harder, I needed the codependency and all the drama that comes with that. That was so normal to me. I just thought that's how it was. So yeah, anyway, here I am, and life is entirely different as a result of what I've come to know.
Yes, it's really beautiful that we can change. I think this is something that, even for myself, I realized in my early 20s. I remember picking up a few books and realizing, by way my life, I don't have to write the same chapters in my life that my parents had. I can choose something different. I can take different actions. I can change how I think. And sometimes when I think about it now, it seems so simple, but I just didn't. I always, it's this belief that we are fixed beings. The way I'm thinking is the way I'm always going to think.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
And when you realize that that isn't how life is, you can, and sometimes it's the smallest thing. Someone says something or you read something and you realize that, oh, you've done it already. Before, in the past, you have already changed how you think about something at some point, but
Yeah.
then you weren't so conscious of it. And then you think, I can consciously choose a different thought and a different action from that thought. And
Yeah.
then my thoughts will start to change. And it's like a light bulb goes off in your head and you think, wait, so those things I was doing last year, I don't have to do them anymore. I can do something different.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. What's really interesting for me, as you're speaking, I'm remembering that when I was growing up, while there was a lot of difficult stuff going on, my dad had a Theodore Roosevelt quote on his office wall. He had a little home office, and it was all about daring mighty things. Far better it is to dare mighty things, win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to take rank with those timid spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much, because they live in the grey twilight that knows not victory nor defeat. And I would read that every day, which is why I can still, it still amazes me I can remember it. But that became, little did I know, that became an affirmation for my life. And because of that, deciding I'm going to live a daring and mighty life, because of that, and that's what, became part of the title of my book, it got me through so much. I've experienced a few traumas. It got me through. It helped me to go out there and, with an adventurous spirit, see the world, suck the marrow out of life, really live and claim my life. So I really was. So when it did look like I was living a great life, and I was, and I'm so grateful to that affirmation that said, go on, get out there and do dare mighty things. Unfortunately, I just didn't know how to handle my inner world at the same time. So it was great because it got me through. I powered through, but in a way it was quite a masculine energy that was like moving me through life, because I was achieving and doing great things, and that's wonderful. But my inner, my feminine and my inner world was ignored, and that I paid a price for that. Yeah.
It's like a price of this disconnection, isn't it? It's like an abandonment of that part of us.
And then you wonder why you're in anxiety because there's that disconnect, Yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine there's a lot of people listening and being like, if you look at your life and you're just like relentlessly taking action, just like doing with ever not stopping to enjoy the moment, to feel what's happening, to feel your emotions and your feelings, and to really connect to the people around you, is to ask is like, why are you doing the doing? What is the doing for? Because you're never being in the moment and enjoying the moments that are there, the beautiful moments that are happening every day to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is still and will always be a daily practice for me. I feel like the conditioning to do, the drive to achieve, it's so deep that I literally have to remember every day that doesn't have to be my modus operandi, and I, at the same time though, I've done enough healing and come far enough to be able to very confidently say, I will not do anything unless it feels good. So that's definitely my feminine coming forward. So I will not take action in my life unless it feels really good. And that's sort of become deep conditioning for me. And still, I have that voice that's like, shouldn't you try harder? I'm like, no, because it doesn't feel good for me to do that. Yeah. Shouldn't you launch 8 times a year, not just 4? No, because that would not feel good for me. Yeah.
And it's an interesting voice to battle with, it's always, I feel there's these For me, there's always two sides. There's that one part of me that's like, just don't do anything. Just relax and do nothing. Just chill, relax. You don't need to do all this stuff. What's the point? And then there's another voice that's like, no, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's create more. You're not doing enough. And it is, for me, it's that balance and living between them in a spot that has me regenerate and recharge, but also expand.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I was thinking to get into the self-love actually and understand, this is your absolute expertise. And I feel like it's not an area that I actually know. I've learned more about it over time. But I see with men and women that we have this issue with self-love. We struggle to give ourselves the love that we actually need just to feel good and whole and happy. Like, what are the issues that men and women have, that we have as humans, in giving ourselves the self-love that we need?
Gosh, it does tie in quite a bit to what we were just saying. I think this patriarchal world or society that we exist in, which is constantly telling us you're not enough. You're not trying hard enough. You're not doing enough. You're not performing well enough. You're not where you should be. And we measure ourselves against crazy measures of success. And that's so generational. Our parents experienced that, their parents experienced that, their parents experienced that. It goes back so many generations that it's deep. It's like in our DNA to keep driving and pushing forward and going for the next thing and achieving. And we just haven't learned to have a softer, more compassionate relationship with ourselves. So beginning to do that feels so completely, utterly foreign, because no one showed us how, predominantly. And it's about learning how to speak to yourself as you would a small child. And in fact, a lot of the work I'm doing with my clients in a child work is about going back into a client's childhood and noticing when they had experiences that they made mean something about who they are. And it could be anything from terrible trauma, perhaps sexual abuse, to I wasn't allowed to have the piece of chocolate cake.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether it was sexual abuse or a chocolate cake. They made it mean that there was something about them that was wrong or bad or not good enough or not worthy. And in that moment, they embodied that belief, and then it was reinforced. As you get to know a client, you can see it's reinforced time and time again. And then obviously that becomes our energy signature, and that's what life keeps reflecting back to us, is experiences that prove that you're bad or you're not good enough, or it's never going to happen for you. And so the work I'm doing, so I'm kind of going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but I'm sure we'll come back. The work I'm doing with my clients very much, like predominantly, is about working with that child that took on that belief system. So as an adult, you're walking around telling yourself, I'm not good enough. And then you're drawn to perhaps this word self-love. You kind of know, well, I am telling myself I'm not good enough all the time, so therefore I probably need to learn how to love myself. Or where do I even begin with that? And you really do begin. We begin with willingness. You begin with deciding, and realizing I have a choice, and I'm choosing that I don't want to self-harm with the words I'm using against myself every day anymore. I don't want to do that to myself. You start to realize you feel your thinking. So that's why I'm feeling shitty, because I'm just consistently being mean to myself, telling myself horrible things. So you start with a willingness that maybe it could be different. Maybe it could be better. Maybe I could believe something else about myself. Maybe that's possible for me. I'm willing to be shown. One of my favorite prayers is, even though I don't know how to love myself, I'm willing to be shown. So that willingness kind of sets the wheels in motion energetically. And And then it's about learning to have that compassionate voice with your inner child. Because quite often when you're feeling something like I'm not good enough, if I'm about to come on a podcast interview or go speak on stage, which doesn't relate to the podcast interview, but when I go and speak on stage, I will always be nervous. I wasn't nervous to come and chat to you today, but I would be nervous if I had to come onto a stage and talk to you. And there might be a voice that comes up in me that says, Katie, you're not good enough. Who do you think you are? What? You call yourself an expert? Like all the mean voices. And I can notice that voice is quite young, often for me. It's quite young. It's the little girl in me, that part of me that she totally does not know how to speak on stage. She is not the expert. She's not lived my life. She hasn't had the training or the experiences I've had. She does not know how to go and speak on stage. And she is still that little 5, 6, 7-year-old at school feeling like I'm not good enough. And so I have to talk to that part of me and say, hey, what's going on? Like, what do you mean you're not good enough? And you let that part of you have a voice. Well, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I'm clever enough. Really? Oh, darling, I can understand. And this is where the self-love really comes in. It's not, you don't jump in with an affirmation and say to that part of you, you are enough, or like, I am enough. You don't just quickly slap an affirmation on it. I am enough. You understand and have compassion and understanding for that part of you. So the inner conversation would go, I hear you. Yes. I hear that you don't feel good enough. I hear that you don't feel good enough. I see the pain that you're in. I see you worrying. I see you struggling. But here's the thing, you always do your best. You always try so hard, and I'm so proud of you for how hard you try. And here's the thing, I'm the adult. I got this. Like, I know how to go speak on stage. You just get to be a little girl. You get to hang out, and I get to remind you that I love you and that you're so much more than enough. And it's this kind of dialogue between adult self and child self. We haven't learned to speak to ourselves like that. Those of us who are parents, but you don't even need to be a parent to know that if you're with a child and then falls off his bike, you don't say to him, hopefully, if you're a half-conscious caring parent, you don't say, oh, you bloody idiot, you're so not good enough, you're never going to better do that. What a fraud. But you wouldn't. You'd be like, oh, darling, oh, gosh, look at you. I'm so proud of you for trying. Get back up. Have another go. You're going to be amazing. Keep at it. We haven't learned to talk to ourselves like that. So from my perspective, I think, an element of learning how to love yourself is learning how to reparent your inner child and have those conversations with yourself, which is predominantly an acknowledgement of that part of you that is struggling, that's nervous or scared. And really acknowledging that, not slapping an affirmation on it, or not worse, like ignoring it, making it bad, wishing it would go away. That's self-love.
Oh, it's like an acceptance, isn't it? It's an acceptance. Is going, it's okay that I am feeling this way.
Yeah, it makes sense, because often those feelings, they're not who we are as adults. Like, adult David, adult Katie, we've got this. Like, whatever life is throwing us, and life can throw really fast and shitty curveballs, but our adult self, we'll figure it out. And if we don't know how, we'll Google it or we'll call someone. But we're pretty resilient, we're pretty capable, we're pretty intelligent. Most adults will figure it out. I mean, look, we're here now because we've survived life. We keep figuring it out. But the younger part of us, the little girl, the little boy, doesn't know that they're going to figure it out. They're just shit scared, because when you're very little, you need your parents, don't you? You need your parents to keep you alive. You can't do it on your own. And there's a part inside all of us that thinks, I can't do it. I'm not going to survive it. They're going to laugh at me and I'll end up alone. And that's our greatest human fear, is to end up alone, isn't it?
To be embarrassed and to be separated, to be in separation.
Separation, right. Like that's our biggest fear. And creating a depth of intimacy with ourselves. I mean, when we've got that, it reduces the fear of separation so much, because it's like, I've got my own back, I'm here for me. And when my fear and my worries and my anxieties come up, I can talk to myself as a parent would talk to a child. I will mother my little girl. You would father your little boy. And you give them that love and attention, and it's utterly unconditional. And energetically, what I kind of get this sort of visual in my mind as well, that when we're doing that, when we're having those conversations with ourselves, we're literally wrapping our arms around this little child, this part of us. And every time we throw love on that part of us and stop ignoring it and making it bad, we're literally bringing them into the fold. We're not pushing them out so that they're this like energy outside of us that's got this weird control on our life. We're bringing them in, and the integration, that wholeness, becomes empowerment. Like I talk about, I'm an empowerment coach for women. This is what we're doing. It's like, you want to feel empowered? Well, bring in all parts of you.
Yes. Accept
all parts of you. And it's no easy feat. It's a daily practice, but that's integration. And it's you're less likely to feel the separateness when you've got you in that way.
Yeah. It's something I see with a lot of the men I work with, is this kind of rejecting of themselves. There's rejecting certain aspects of themselves. Oh, that bit, no, I don't like that. Like I need to change that. That needs to go. I need to get rid of that. Or worse still, there's the really the kind of shadowy parts that are hidden. I don't really want to talk about that. I don't want to show you those bits of me. I don't want to talk about that aspect of what I've done because I'm deeply ashamed. And actually, it's this fracturing of ourself that creates, and we create this, and we talk about separation and loneliness, but actually it's a self-separation that we create, right? And that's the thing that really causes us this, the kind of patterns in our lives. That's what it kind of causes. And it's like when we can bring those bits in one by one, and go, maybe I'm an angry little child sometimes. That's okay. I can accept the angry little child. He has wisdom to teach me. He has lessons to give me. He gives me drive and things like that. Or there's the vulnerable child that it's always scared of everything, and it's like, I can bring that in, and that's okay as well. And when I think there's the power when I do it with men and go, no, that's okay. I feel this way. And they hear another man, they're like, what, you feel this way too? You do? And you're like, yes, I have the story I tell myself is this. And they go, really? Yes. Am I the only person that does this? No, everybody does this. And what about, no, everyone can't do it. And I think I've got a few YouTube clips of like, famous men or famous women going, the story I tell myself every time I get up on stage, similar to you, is that I can't do this. I'm useless. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And when they hear that, it's like it's mind blowing. It's like, wow, I thought I was alone. I never spoke of this because I thought I was broken. I was alone and broken.
Yeah. Honestly, there's such power. This is why your podcast is amazing, because you're speaking something that a lot of people need to hear, because we do feel so alone with our stuff, and we're so quick to shame ourselves and think, it's only me. But of course it's not. Every time I share with my clients and in my community, I'm always sharing my like deepest, darkest fears, and I'm super open about myself and my life and my experiences. Every time I share, I feel better for it. And they do. Like, it's a total win-win, because I'm just being honest. It's a win-win when we speak our truth and our vulnerability, but we've come to think that sharing our vulnerabilities, and there's a time and a place, right? So I'm not for like, I won't, if I I'm not for just jumping on Facebook and doing a live and like crying, and I bring my empowered vulnerabilities into the public domain, right? Like there's a time and a place for everything. And there's connection there when we can be that vulnerable, like huge, deep connection. The connection I have with my clients, my community, it's so beautiful because there's no wall up, there's no barrier. Like, this is me, you got me, and I'm going to share me, and I'm relatable because I'm human. And there's nothing I could say that somebody else out there in the world couldn't relate to, because it's just the human experience, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's the human experience.
So. Yeah, and it's a word that kind of founded this podcast when me and Ahmad started back a 2.5 years ago, was that vulnerability is the key to great connections.
Yeah.
And it was just an experience that we had through our lives of just sharing ourselves and being, and like you said, it's this empowered vulnerability. But I feel that inside of that is like the empowerment comes in that knowing you can share this and it's okay. And you're sharing something because you're looking for sympathy, or you're trying to get from people, or, you're not trying to take energy in some way from people, but you're sharing because this is what you want to say. It's what's true for you to share in this moment. It might be, you might even preface it with something like, this is something that's going to be hard for me to say, or this is vulnerable for me to say, but it comes out in a powerful way, because it's not trying to take sympathy or get I can't think of anything else, but it's like we often say things to take energy from other people. Like, I want you to sympathize, I want you to feel sorry for me, I want you to do something about this. But I'm just, with that empowered vulnerability, as you said, it's like, I'm sharing this because this is what's true for me, and this is going to powerfully help whoever's going to listen, but also powerfully help me to share it as well.
Yeah, totally. And it doesn't always feel empowered, right? So yes. And there's different, I mean, because I know even, this weekend I went for a lovely walk with my husband, and there's something on my heart that I've been wanting to talk to him about, but it's never been quite the right time or place. And we're on this walk, and it was just the two of us, and I knew we had like a 4-hour walk ahead of us. And so it was the perfect time to have this conversation that I wanted to have. And I was really nervous, and I don't have any experience of bringing my vulnerability to him where he's pushed me away or chastised me or made me ashamed. Like, he's only ever been just gorgeous. He's just held the space, listened, understood. He's just been lovely. I still get nervous, and I didn't want to be vulnerable. I didn't want to say what I needed to say. And he received me beautifully. And, and sometimes my vulnerability is messy, and there's lots of tears and snot, it's not pretty. Sometimes it's utterly unruly, but it's real. And it does create beautiful connection. It's still empowered though, because I don't just vomit my stuff on him or anybody. Like, if I've got something going on, I will be with me first. So this is what self-love definitely invites us to. I will be with me first. I will check it out for myself first. I'll journal about it. I'll have a chat with my inner child. I'll shake it out and bash and dance and like move it through my body in whatever way it needs to be moved. I'll do my work. I'll call my coach. I'll work with it myself first. And then when I'm ready, I will vulnerably share. Because I got to own my side of the street first.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. That's my approach to it.
Yeah. You got to be responsible for your communication and what your side of what you're giving out. Yeah. It's something that's I've seen as being really important in my own relationship. It's like learning to share responsibly. And it's this last year has been amazing in way for my level of communication. This, last year I've been locked in, and I've been locked in, but I've been, I don't like to call it locked in, because I'm not locked in. I'm still free. I still
Yeah.
feel free. I can go and walk, and I can walk 100 miles if I want. Like, I am really quite free.
Yeah.
Um, but with my partners, we've been in our space, and there's times where I get annoyed about stuff, I get frustrated, and I've learned, especially over the last year, to not just be like, to either react and hit back,
Mm.
or to go to what was using my default way of being is avoidance, and just like, I'm not going to talk. I'm going to be the sulky child. I'm going to go upstairs, or I won't even go upstairs. I'm going to sit on the sofa next to you. I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to say anything. And I'm just going to sit here and think about how wrong you are. Um, and actually,
Yeah.
I've learned now to be like, okay, there's something there. There's something sitting there for me. Okay, what I'm going to do, I might go for a walk. Let me go for a walk. Let me breathe. Let me go and do some breath work. Let me, I've taken to shaking myself recently, is like just to move something,
Yeah.
meditation. And then I might come back and go, I might think to myself and be like, I'm being really fucking petty. Yeah, being petty. I can be all right with that. I'm being petty. And then I just sit with the pettiness. I sit with the being, and maybe there'll be a conversation into the night with my partner and go, I was annoyed when you didn't put the fork back in the place like I like my forks to be. And she'll go, yeah, I know. And I was like, I felt petty. But and she'll go, yeah, that's okay. I'm like, yeah, I know. And then that's it. And then you kind of let it go.
It's diffused, right? It's just diffused. But you had to go through your process first before you could
Mm,
share. And just to say I'm petty is really vulnerable, especially for a man, I think,
yeah.
yeah. And that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's empowered vulnerability right there. Yeah.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fun game to play, actually. Keep stepping up to that. It's a fun game to play because it's I'm finding it as like a quite a masculine challenge to push myself in that way, push my edge of vulnerability, push my edge of owning what's going on for me and taking more responsibility and placing less blame.
We all need to learn to do that and practice that without expecting perfection, because we're always going to mess it up. We're always only going to have be able to do our best. But yeah, we all have to practice that. Absolutely.
Mm, mm.
Mm.
It's going to change tact a little bit here and get into the dating stuff a little bit, dating relationship stuff a little bit. And I'm really interesting, as you work with a lot of women and men in really helping them heal what's gone before for them. What are the kind of common signs that people have in their like dating and love lives, that there's these wounds that they that need healing, that want healing?
What are the common signs that they have that they need healing?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, from my perspective, the people that are coming to me they're frustrated that it's not happened for them yet. And so there's frustration that they're still single, and they're starting to believe stories like, and I kind of don't like the word stories because I don't want to discount that it's their truth. So it's not a story, it is their truth, but I love disproving their truth. When you realize that what they're telling themselves is, I'm not enough, it's never going to happen for me. It's meant for other people, not me. I'm not pretty enough, I haven't made enough money yet, i'm not I'm not successful enough yet, that's obviously why it's not happened for me. And all the stories, like women, men, like I want don't exist. It's a pipe dream. All the good guys are taken, all the great girls are taken. These are the stories that they're telling themselves, but this is their truth. And they've got a lot of evidence to back it up, like tons of evidence to back it up. I mean, when I was single parenting 8 years, and it wasn't happening. So for someone to come and say, you know, well, that's not really true, that's a story, it's like, well, bloody well not happening. Look, I'm single. Okay. And it definitely tapped into my not enoughness and my unlovability. And right there, like, these are the wounds that were being invited to heal. That's the work. Like, I believe when it comes to calling in love, you said this, I think, at the very beginning of our chat now, and I've heard you say it many times before, it's not about figuring out how to do dating really well. I mean, yeah, that can be part of it. That's not my that's not what I'm doing with helping people with. I can, but it's not my passion. My passion is like, let's do the inner work. Let's look at your energetics. What's your energy signature saying? Are you pushing away great people, or are you available to receive them? Do you really believe you're worthy of that kind of next level love? Because if you don't, let's address why you don't think you're worthy. And often it's rooted in childhood, and then comes the inner child, reparenting work. Yeah, there's usually energetic pieces. And when I talk about energetic pieces, everything's energy, right? So what we think can be a repelling or a blocking energy. What we're feeling can be a repelling or blocking energy. So we need to work with that. We need to do the inner work, so that you can actually be available to receive what you desire. Yeah.
And there's often this, what I want to say actually is around story, right? Because I like the word story as well. One of my spiritual mentors, she uses a term of conditioned truths, false truths, and soul truths.
Yeah.
And I like how she puts it. It's conditioned truth is like things that we have been conditioned to believe, that we believe them. We're like, I believe this, but we've been, we can talk in terms of we were talking about, how we should just always be striving for more. That's a conditioned truth. We've been conditioned into the belief that we should also be striving for more. Mm-hmm. Our stories around maybe not being enough is a false truth, but we believe it, but it's completely false.
Yeah.
And then we have our soul truths, which is like our deepest soul's desire, and we communicate constantly through these three ways. But I use the term story because it's easier for people to take on over those three. But I really get what you mean about, because, people do, we really believe our stories. We believe we are our thoughts and our feelings, We believe that when I was a child, I believed my dad, all he did was tell me off and tell me I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
But I really, when I look and go, no, what there is that something happened. He said some words. And in that moment, I made a decision about what it all meant. What it all meant about me. It was all about me. It wasn't about anyone else. It was all about me. Completely self-centered decision. Yeah. And in those moments, we take those truths and we just live them out, and those stories, and we replay it. And as we get older, the story gets embellished and there's a more emotion added to it. There's evil faces that come in, and like you said, there's more evidence of it again and again and again. But it's really just this false truth that we've lived all our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you say to somebody, they're like, well, good men don't exist, or men will hurt me, or men only want me for sex, or I will be left, I'll get abandoned. Like, all of these beliefs, it is based on their evidence. It's based on their facts. So it's about helping the client to heal the original wound, where that's come from, and helping them to start to see that it could be different. Sometimes the work is even just helping them to create a vision for what they desire instead, because the focus is only on what they don't want, which is a catch-22 with the frustration that's not coming in. Well, you're only focusing on what you don't want, so of course what you want is not going to come in. Inner work is key, and changing up those belief systems and where they've come from is crucial.
Yeah. And it's interesting because often an exercise I get my coaching clients to do is go, course, to tell me what you really want in a person, in someone you want to meet. And it's amazing how quickly they will descend into telling you, well, I want them to, they descend into two things very quickly, is telling you what they don't want,
Mm.
or telling you what they do want. And then when you ask, why do you want that? It's based in that they experienced the opposite at some point in a relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm always often like, so actually, do you actually want that, or do you just don't want that? And you're saying that because it's the opposite, and it at least distances you from that. And when you delve into it, it's so often that actually, no, you don't actually want that thing. You want something that's usually a bit higher than that. Like, I want respect. You want respect. Why do you want respect? I was with someone and they disrespected me. They didn't treat me well, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you really want a deep union is what you want. You want deep openness and honesty and integrity in your relationship. Yeah. That's what I want. Oh, you don't want respect. Respect is a response of a negative experience that you've had, and you're still focusing on your negative experience.
And so you're still calling that in.
Yes.
Right? Because what we don't own owns us. So when you want something in rebellion to something you've experienced, you're still calling in that same thing. And you're right, it's about dialing into your soul truth and rising above to the next level. It's like, what do I really desire? And it's about a presence here and now. I'm calling in what I desire in relation to my soul, not in reaction to my past wounds and pain. And yeah, it's a very different energy, and it can be so subtle, and it's those very, very subtle tweaks that make all the difference. Yeah.
It's the small things.
Someone like you saying that to a client is like, it's subtle, like you'll pick up on it because you're the coach. It's subtle but freaking game changing.
Yeah. And at the moment when you hear it, sometimes you don't see it. You're like, oh, it's very similar. And it just shifts the focus. It just shifts the focus onto paying attention. It's the simple idea around, is this idea that if I talk to you about red cars, and I say there's a lot of red cars out there. Actually, I'll tell you about a direct experience I had midway through last year. I decided I wanted to get a Mini. I was like, I want to get a Mini. I want to get a convertible Mini. And then suddenly I was walking on the street and I'd be like, oh, there's a convertible Mini there. Oh, there's one over there. There's one there as well. Oh, God, there's one. I was like, there's loads of convertible Minis. I didn't see these convertible Minis before. And I remember saying this to my partner also. And we both, as I said the words, we both looked at each other and went, oh, yes, of course. Now my focus is there. And that is now what I'm seeing all the time.
Yeah.
And it is the same thing with love, dating, and our relationships. And we can shift our focus to something higher, something more that we desire, we will observe that in the world a lot more.
Totally. I think that's where choosing a role model is actually really powerful when it comes to calling it love, because while you're believing that there's no good men, or because I'm working with women predominantly over 40, the belief is absolutely, oh my God, men over 40 are like fat, got some mad ex-wife in tow, loads of kids, debts, they kind of like, I'm just going to get this guy with all this baggage. I'm like, really? Do you, maybe we should look for some evidence that there are guys that exist that are over 40 that are what you're calling in, that are conscious and awake and pay attention to their health and fitness and, have a really beautiful, purposeful career. And like, maybe those guys do exist. Why don't you start looking, get curious? And this is where you can get really playful. It's like, develop a playful curiosity. Just suspend disbelief for a moment and just maybe they do exist, and start to look around, like, what couples do you know? Who do you know that found love over 40 and they're all that you're looking for? You can start with celebrity couples, you can look to Hollywood, then you can look to your local community, but there are examples. Just choose to find them, you'll find them. And find your role model couple or role model people, role model single guys. Like, they exist. Just choose to start looking for them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly that. It's exactly that, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
I hear the same thing from guys. Oh, there's no good women. They just want women with money. They just want, like I'm dealing with a lot of men who are really between in their 30s. They're usually a few years either side of my age or a little bit younger. I feel that spiritually, in my energy, I'm a younger man than my age says anymore. So that I find these men are like, 20, 28 to like 38, 40 years old. And they come, they're like, oh, there's no good women anywhere. They just want men with big muscles or good looks or all these things. And I say, this has never been my reality, never. And they go, no, that's how it all is. And then I start inquiring and I ask a few questions. And then when you start to say, like we talked about the values, you get the values in place, you start paying attention to the people you meet, not based on your assumptions and your fears, based on the values you really want, and go, okay, is a man in front of me? Is he a man of integrity? Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Is he a man that is about growth and learning? Yeah, he is. He is. Okay. And it's just suddenly, it's amazing how the world transforms for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is, and that is part of the inner work,
Mm.
is actually connecting in with your values and desires, and letting go of some of the more sort of ego structures. Yeah. I think because you and I spoke about that before. Do you remember where I had that analogy about the specials menu?
Yes.
Specials menu analogy. Because I had that going on. I really outed myself last time you and I spoke. I'll just do it again, shall I? Where I had this list of, what I thought the guy would look like that I was calling in. And, he was this sort of Greek Adonis. He had the dark, flowy hair, lots of it, and the olive skin. And he had that whole look going on. And I really had to, having a desire is beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with creating a vision of what you think you desire, but it's so important to release it and allow life to show you what your perfect, beautiful match is, and trust that something greater than you knows way better than you. Because I'm making that up from my head based on my own experiences and what I've seen out in the world. But God, life, the universe knows my heart and knows my values and knows what my match is. And it's like, I had this is the analogy, right? So it's like going to your favorite restaurant, and I knew what was on that menu because I go there all the time. And I like, the Greek Adonis dude is on that menu. I know that. My brain knows that. But I hadn't seen a special menu yet. And like, God has the specials menu. And I really have to make myself, this is part of calling in, like it's part of manifesting, is making yourself available to the specials menu and allowing God to serve up what you're meant for in the most positive, beautiful way. And, my husband he's not Greek, he's English. And he's a pale English dude with a shaved head. Like, he's super handsome. Like, I find him incredibly attractive. But I didn't know I would find him attractive until I met him. Like, I just didn't know. And life went, here, what about this? And I went, oh, never considered that before. And it was perfect for me. Just wasn't quite in the package I was expecting. And yet it was perfect for me.
Yeah.
And this is, moving into a receiving energy invites us to be available to receive what we are meant for. And that can come in when we allow it, and when we are connected into our desires and not creating lists based on our past pain, or list of what we don't want based on our past pain. That's why the healing work is so important.
We're not coming from a place of like what we're fearing or what we're trying to avoid, and it's when you're saying and receiving, it's what really comes to me, because I really resonate with your story, even for myself with my partner also, is that I definitely was like, oh, I want the very feminine, flowy woman who, she's deep into the spiritual work. Like, I was really getting into Tantra, and I was like, oh, this is what I really want. I want this loving, flowing woman who, is super outgoing, and you can feel the feminine energy when you meet her. And I met my partner also, and you know, she'd probably admit that she lived much of her life in a corporate masculine world. You know, she'd really driven the companies forward, and when we met, I always remember she came on the podcast, and she kind of came and she sat down, and she was very upright, very upright, very. And I remember sitting, and I literally had this like Hawaiian shirt on, sitting on the upper side of the room, sitting now, super chill, and we ended up, you know, talking about sex and for a while, and. Ahmad was sitting up a chair, and there was a moment I realized that he had basically switched off from the conversation and just left us to talk. But I really just felt, I was like, this is a really beautiful conversation. It was the second time we met then. And as we got to know each other, and I realized there was this rigidity to her. And I was playful with it. It was really interesting for me. I saw it and I was like, this isn't how you want to be. I see this. And I would just play with the rigidity in her, and I'd just be like, all like super chill. And she'd be like, what time are we going to go and do that thing? And I'd be like, you know, see how we feel. And she'd look at me on like our dates and be like, what do you mean? See how we feel? I was like, yeah, see how we feel. We've got hours. And over time, what we really developed was the yearning that was inside her to be more feminine, to release that. And it's not through that I was forcing it upon her. It's just like by me being how I was, there was a safety create for her to, and it's like how she has blossomed into so many ways that I really want what I really wanted in a woman. Plus she has traits I never thought I needed. I never knew that I needed in my life. And I think this is one of the really key things, is that we think we know what we want and what we need, but we've got no fucking idea a lot of the time.
Totally. And two things are springing to my mind as you say that. The first thing is the importance of knowing how you desire to feel with somebody. That is, I mean, we could literally just throw a whole bunch of stuff I've just talked about out the window, actually, and just like, if you take anything away from this conversation, you know, it's like, how do you want to feel with the person that you're with? Forget what they look like. Forget all of it. Like, how do you want to feel? Safe, respected, at home. Like for me, I wanted to feel at home. I just wanted to feel at home. I knew that. And I knew the second I met James, I felt at home. It wasn't love at first sight. It was, you know, 2 or 3 dates in, and I was like, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, you're him. And I felt at home the second I was with him. And so suddenly it wasn't about what he looked like. It wasn't the tick list anymore. It was how I felt. And so probably you with your partner, it's like it's the feeling. It's not, so she wasn't this floaty feminine woman, but she had the desire. So that's actually quite interesting that there was that was there. And the second thing, what you say speaks to, is not having to get it perfect, not having to be perfect. Like, we're speaking a lot to doing the inner work, and it's so important, because the inner work has you become the vibrational match to what you're calling in. But you just demonstrated beautifully, and I've got lots of examples with James and I, it's not about being perfect. You know,
Yes.
It's because you come together with the person because it feels good and true for you, and then you continue the journey together. You continue the healing, you continue the inner work, you push each other's buttons so that you have something to work on together. You know, it's that beautiful journey. But yeah, how you feel with them is more important than anything, because everything else goes, like, money comes and goes, careers come and go, looks fade, like all the things that we have on our tick lists. At the end of the day, at 3 o'clock in the morning, when you're worrying about something, you want to be with somebody that can like hold you.
Yeah.
Solid. Speaking for myself anyway.
Yeah. And for a man, as a masculine man, it's to be with someone who allows themselves to be held.
Right. Yeah. That's so true. And for me, that was that, you know, that it was a huge part of my healing and my process, because one of my biggest blocks to love was I didn't trust men. I just fundamentally didn't trust them. And I didn't trust the masculine. And so that was reflected back to me in my relationship with money and my relationship even with career and purpose. I didn't trust the masculine would be there for me. I was a servant to the masculine. And so I had to, there was a whole process of healing there. And as I came to trust the masculine, everything shifted, not just calling in my guy, everything shifted. And I was able to receive him. And that's the most natural energy flow between a man and a woman, isn't it? You guys, you empowered guys want, and let's just be clear, an empowered man wants nothing more than to hold his woman safe. And an empowered woman desires nothing more than to receive his embrace and to be held. It's a beautiful, beautiful dynamic. Feminism doesn't speak much to that.
No, it doesn't. It's an interesting, I mean, it's funny when you speak of the feminism, and it's like, I'm going to speak really freely about how I've seen feminism as I grew up. And I have to preface this with the fact that what I saw feminism as I grew up was very much the media's depiction of feminism. First of all, the media depicted feminism as pushing men down, as like men need to be pulled down, which wasn't really what the game was about, what feminism is about. But also what I saw a lot of in feminism wasn't actually the uplifting of femininity. It was the uplifting of the masculinity in women.
Yeah.
Which is all well and good, but actually still leaves behind the feminine, the actual feminism, which needs uplifting from its suppression of eons of suppression. And I feel that it does happen by proxy, but it wasn't the main focus, right? And I think maybe that's because of the way that our society is built, and that, you have the patriarchy, which embodies immature masculine. So the men will only respect a woman if she comes with that same level of immature masculine. So to lift up women, they had to lift that up first. And then actually now I feel we are seeing an age of, and obviously I didn't live before I was alive, but I feel in this age is another age of lifting up the feminine in us all, not just in women. Because feminism is here to liberate men as well. As much as men feel that it's there to suppress them, that is the media's depiction because it fits their narrative. But actually, it's here to lift and liberate the feminine in us all, be that pleasure, emotion, empathy, intuition, all these things, freedom and trust, to lift us up all in those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and unfortunately, feminism has encouraged women to become more masculine.
Yeah.
And it sort of missed the point. And you're right, we all have, I mean, gosh, it's a whole other conversation, so I won't go down that rabbit hole, except to say, we all have a masculine and a feminine energy within us, don't we? And the desire, well, okay, speaking for myself, the desire is to empower my feminine energy and to empower my masculine energy, because most of us have a lot of toxic, disempowered feminine stuff going on. Think people pleasing, the guilt of putting yourself first. And we have a lot of disempowered, toxic masculine energy going on, which is the pushing, the striving, the relentlessness to your own detriment, hence exhaustion and burnout. So we've all got these disempowered pieces going on, masculine and feminine, and the aim is to bring forth our empowered masculine and feminine, so we have that beautiful energetic dance within us.
Yes.
And then as we can develop that, it is reflected, we can have that reflected externally. So then when you meet your guy or you meet your girl, you're able to have that relationship where she can surrender and he can protect and hold her, which is very beautiful.
That's beautifully said. That's exactly my sentiments. I love that. There's the dance for us all.
Yeah.
I have one more question, actually, and this is something that pops up on my Instagram every so often. And it's around soulmates and this idea that we all have a singular soulmate for us, destined for us to meet. And I wonder what your take on this is. Do you believe that there is one soulmate for us all that we must search for and find, or do you believe in something different?
So while my marketing material, for example, I run a quarterly challenge called Meet Your Soulmate. That speaks to your one. Yeah. I don't believe in one soulmate. And I think there's a lot of different types of soulmates. So I'm going to go a bit woo-woo here. Am I allowed to go a little bit woo-woo?
Oh, of course, I'm all woo.
Yeah.
I've got a skirt on. Underneath here, I've got a sarong on, you know.
So woo-woo, what do I want to say? So I believe we are all spiritual beings having the human experience. And I believe that before we come here, I don't know how the conversation goes down when we're souls choosing to come have the human experience, but it goes something like, you are my soul family, and we are going to play out these roles, you know, in this sort of earthly playground. We're going to play these roles so that we can learn the lessons we're going to come to have. So for me, you know, let's use my mum and I as an example, because I brought her up earlier in conversation. My mum struggled through her life. I mean, no one would have known it. She was definitely the perfect people pleaser, very beautiful smile. No one would have known she struggled with anxiety and depression since probably my birth. So I'm pretty sure she had postnatal depression. So all of her life she struggled. But no one really knew about it. And then she died and she took her own life. And she and I believe, had a soulmate relationship, because I believe that her role in this lifetime was actually to suffer so that I would have the experience of a mother that suffered and modeled how not to love yourself. Like the worst case scenario, when you don't love yourself, when you don't know how to put yourself first, when you don't know how to meet your desires, when you don't heal your childhood wounds, yada, yada. This is what lack of self-love looks like. And I had to learn that in a really difficult way. It was incredibly painful. And yet we agreed on this relationship dynamic so that hers was the ultimate sacrifice, like ultimate gift of love, actually, is a whole other perspective on it, because she was enabling me in this lifetime to explore what it really means to know and love yourself, and actually with a greater purpose to go on to teach and help other people with that, which is really quite beautiful what she has instigated. That's a soulmate relationship. I really believe that. I've had my grandfather, I had a beautiful relationship with him. He's my soulmate. I learned and evolved through joy and love with him. I've had soulmate relationships and intimate partnerships that have been horrendously codependent and full of addiction and drama and chaos. And they are soulmate. The ones that push my buttons the most and cause me the most pain are soulmate relationships, because they instigated deep transformation and healing in me. Like I ran with it. I didn't, for many years, I ignored it. I ignored what life was trying to teach me. And these guys would keep coming into my life again and again. And I was like, why is there so much drama and pain? And I can't trust them. And I don't trust men. And again and again and again, until I realized that these were gifts of love inviting me to evolve and grow. And so they were soulmates, because it was so painful. I'm now married to my soulmate. And there's no pain here. I mean, we have our moments, don't get me wrong. We'll occasionally press each other's buttons, right? We're human and real. And 98% of the time, I am evolving and growing through love with him. It was actually part of our wedding vows. I said, I said something around exactly that. I found my guy that I can evolve and grow with through love, because I'm just done with doing it through pain. It doesn't have to, you don't have to only evolve and grow through pain. You can do it through love and joy and pleasure. And he's a soulmate. So I I believe we have a soul family, and we choose to play roles on this earthly playground to invite us to step up. And because when we're doing our inner healing work, when we're transforming, our soul is expanding. We're becoming more of who we are, and we can only do that in physical reality, like in our physical body. So
Yes.
yeah, it's a bit of a woo-woo conversation, but that's what I think a soulmate is.
Yes. I know. I love it. I really, I believe something very similar. I believe that there's not just one soulmate. I think we meet friends who are soulmates, and you said partners, family members, people come into our lives, and
Yeah.
they instigate transformation in us in some way.
Yes, exactly.
They
Exactly.
instigate they instigate transformation in our lives, and we often look back at them at some point and go, sometimes it's a conversation you had with a stranger one night in a bar or on a beach somewhere, and sometimes it's someone you spent 50 years with.
Yeah. 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 Totally. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm
And
glad
what I
I
love about
finally
that,
met my soulmate, that my intimate soulmate. I'm so glad that, that I have what I have with him now, because he's kind of what we have is, it's that like fairy tale idea of what a soulmate is. And
yeah,
it is lovely to experience that. Yeah.
no, I definitely know that feeling. It's like, oh wow, I didn't realize it could be like this.
Yeah. 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 And to be able to say that, knowing that it doesn't really feel that long ago, and it wasn't that long ago. I mean, 5, 6 years ago, men were the enemy.
Mm.
And in fact, I mentioned that I just had a walk with my husband on the weekend, and I had to bring up something vulnerable to talk to him about, and what that brought through, which I had to again say to him. I said, darling, it's triggering my I can't trust men thing.
Mm.
What we were talking about, it's triggering that again. And I know that's my stuff, and I need your support with it. Like, that's hard for me. So it's still there. Again, it's not about getting it perfect. It's not about healing every wound so that you're like done. No, no. You keep polishing the diamonds in relationship.
Yeah, you have to keep working. You're never done with the healing. The healing is never finished until you die.
No, it does get easier though.
Yes, it does get easier. It does get easier.
Mm.
It does, with the awareness that you bring to it. Mm. Wow, thank you very much. Well, wonderful and beautiful conversation once again, just flowing in and out of the different pieces of just looking at ourselves and healing, and what it takes to call in love. Like it isn't about strategies. It isn't about, searching for these things outside, or it's actually doing the searching within,
Yeah.
and just reorientating the thinking, reorientating how we relate to ourselves will bring in what we deeply want to need.
Yeah. And I really, really believe that if we can take our focus off the how of calling in love, and focus on being the best version of ourselves, being the most possible, like, healed version of ourselves, doing our inner work with the intention of becoming the the vibrational match to who we're calling in, with the intention of calling in soulmate love. It's such a gift. Like, I feel like that work, when you're doing that work, you're honoring the person that is also preparing to come into your life. Like, somebody is looking for you too,
Yeah.
and in doing the inner work, you are honoring them before you've even met them. Like, it's such a special thing that I've got with my husband. We joke about it. Like, sometimes I joke, oh my god, I've invested so much money in calling you in. Like, how many coaches did I hire? How much work have I done? Like, I need my return on investment now, dude. But he loves that he feels honored that I wanted such a next level type of relationship, that I did the work, And I went deep. I went inside and I tried my damnedest and healed my wounds. And I got there in the dirt under my fingernails. I really went there, you know, in honor of the guy that I desired to be with. Like, I wanted to be that woman for him, and he deserved that. I knew that the kind of guy I wanted to be with, he deserved the best version of Katie. Yes. You know, he didn't need the unhealed, reactive, codependent victim. Like, not one more guy on the planet needed to be with that woman. Right? Yeah. So I was honoring him in advance, and I just think there's no more beautiful gift than to do that for somebody else. Of course, I was doing it for myself first, and to be able to share that and gift that to him is really beautiful.
Yeah, it's an amazing gift to have that trust in yourself and in the future, that's what it brings to you. Often I wrote down at some point here, it's like self-trust. It's like having that trust in yourself that what you're doing will bring you fruit, no matter the voices telling you that this is a waste of time, you should just go and do this other thing that's going to give you something instant. But this real work, this looking at, you know, the past, the trauma, the upset, the meaning, the story, and going, okay, what's that really about? Yeah. Really enables you to move forward with power.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, Katie, thank you again. Yeah, I love how our conversations flow. Like, I write a load of questions and I kind of half look at them, and then I realize at the end it's like, oh, they've all been answered. We've really talked about far more, and it's just like, I love when the conversation flows so naturally and so effortlessly. And I'm sure a lot of the listeners are here are like, where can we get more of Katie? Where can we hear more? Where can we find out about her program? So where can the listeners have more of Katie?
Well, Instagram at the School of Self.love, and our website is the School of Self.love. It's probably the easiest places to start. I mentioned I run a quarterly Meet Your Soulmate 5-day experience. It's completely free, and it's really transforming women's lives. It blows me away, actually. It is for women only, though, so I know you've got quite a male audience. But guys, invite your girls to come do the Meet Your Soulmate challenge. That's all detailed in my Instagram bio. They're probably the easiest places to start, aren't they?
Yeah. And I'll put all those in the show notes for people.
I've got a little giveaway you can share with people as well. I can, if you like, I'll give you a little a link to a Meet Your Soulmate little kind of mini book on how to call in love.
Awesome. I'll stick that in the show notes, so people head over to the show notes now. You will get their wonderful little book there for you to digest and just, you know, take in and take some learnings from.
Pleasure.
But yeah, Katie, what a wonderful conversation, and hopefully we'll talk again on Instagram and get a little live going again, because I really enjoyed the live we had a little while ago. Time flies.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, David. It's really lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you, listeners. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I'll speak to you next week.